In this Map Suite MVC Edition sample app walkthrough, we're going to show you how you can put markers on the map. Markers can be very helpful if you want to display points of interest or other points on the map that you want to allow your users to click, to display more information, or to help drive your application. As you can see with this sample here, we've just got a standard map with the World Map Kit background zoomed into the United States. And we have a button over here called Add Marker. If we go ahead and click that, you'll see that we have now an image showing up in the middle of the United States that looks like a marker that you may see, very familiar, as these show up on Google Maps a lot of times. And if we hover over it, you can see that we've got a pop-up here that displays the name, in this case Kansas City, and if I move off it will go away, and I can come back here and I can close that. Markers are very rich on the client side. You can do lots of different things with the pop-ups, the click events. Also, this image can be custom to whatever you want it to be. So you can use your own images if you want to say like it's a hotel or a restaurant or something along those lines to give it more meaning than just maybe a standard point. So let's take a look at the code so you can see how you can set up some markers on your mapping application. To get started, let's dig into the code on the view source here. And the first part I wanted to show you is where we're just setting up the map for the default load, and this is where we're setting up the World Map Kit. We're zooming in the United States and setting the map unit and adding the map to the page. So that's all this code block here. And then down here is where we're dealing with what we call an in-memory marker overlay. An in-memory marker overlay can contain one or multiple markers, and it can be useful to set up a style on the marker overlay itself if you want all your markers to kind of behave the same way. So let's say that you wanted to have all hotels and you wanted to all have the same type of pop-up, etc. You can do that with this in-marker overlay. If you want to have each marker have a separate icon and a separate pop-up, you can do that as well, and you would just set some of these properties on the marker itself instead of on the in-marker overlay. So think of this as just like a layer of markers that can contain many things. So as we take a look at this, you can see that we're setting the zoom level set, so that's where we're going to set our styling for the marker overlay. As you can control it with styling just like you could any other data source like a shapefile feature layer or a tab file feature layer. So you may only want to show your markers when you're zoomed in, or show them differently at different zoom levels. So all of these are getting set just using the default marker style, and this is where we're setting off of that style. We have where you can control the pop-up behaviors too. So here we're just setting the HTML that's going to be displayed in the pop-up, whether it has a close button or not, its height, width, background color, border color, etc. So that's all dealing with setting up the pop-up information for the marker. Down here is where you would set the web image information. So we're just going to use the default web image, and we're going to offset it a little bit, both by the X and Y, and then also set the height and width of the image. So if you want to make it larger or smaller, you can control all of that via these properties. And if you want to change the web image altogether, you can see other properties off of this web image class to do that. And then we're going to apply that for all zoom levels. So no matter what, it's going to look the same whether we zoom in or zoom out of the map. So you can change that however you like for your application requirements. So right now we still have not added the marker to the map. So let's take a look at what happens when we want to add a marker to the map. And to do that, here we're going to come up and look at what's happening on this button that we have on the sample application. And you can see that on the on-click event, we're doing Ajax callback, and we're going to go back to the controller, and we're going to pass a bunch of variables, such as we're going to tell it we want to do the add marker. And then over here on the right, we're going to pass the location in longitude and latitude, a marker ID. Since this is just a simple sample, we're just making that marker, but you can make that a unique one. And then a map callback, what we want to happen once we finish adding the marker to the map. And while we're here, what happens when we finish adding the marker to the map, we just redraw the marker overlay. So that updates the client side in sync with the server. So let's go to the server side or the controller source now and take a look at what's happening there when we actually add the marker. And you can see here's our add marker routine, and we're taking in the map and a collection of arguments, and we're making sure we have a valid map instance, and setting the marker ID, getting the X and Y of the location we want to create it, and then getting our in-memory marker overlay from the map itself. Then right here is where all the magic is for adding the new marker to the in-memory marker overlay. And we just create a new feature with the X and Y and pass in the marker ID. So this is a very simple implementation of how you could use some markers. One thing to consider as you're using markers, since they are client-side intensive, this is actually an image, and we've got to push HTML down to the browser to do some of these advanced things such as hovering and all of that. I typically recommend to people, don't use markers for things that are over 50 points. If you want to do that, use like an in-memory feature layer to do that and render it all server-side. Because once you get over 50 of these things on the map, you'll start to see some performance slowdowns, because there's a lot more going back to the client as far as the images, the HTML positioning, and things of that nature. So that's something to keep in mind as you're architecting your application. I hope this sample application has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us, or you can post them directly on our discussion forums at thinkgeo.com/forums. And thanks again for watching.